This is Arif Halaby on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
Welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. I'm your host, Jeff Gerard. We've given Arif Halaby the day off. We figure 1,100 plus radio shows, the guy should have a day off here and again. Thanks for joining us every week at this time. Your place for news, talk, and information. Total Financial Safer Money Hour. This is your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. We are broadcasting from the beautiful new building here in downtown Newhall. We're loving it. Great new studio. I have a treat for you today. He's returned from a previous show, actually 2 previous shows. I think you're becoming a veteran now, Mr. Richard Lewis Grant, author extraordinaire, as I've labeled him, a dear friend of ours, and very happy to have you help us out with the show today, Richard.
I am very happy to be here. It is a great studio, great location,
yeah,
and a great audience.
Yeah, lots of fun. So we're going to talk about your family's finances, of course, ways you can get out of debt, manage your finances, manage your money, plan for retirement. Really, it's a preparation for retirement. I think the word plan kind of gets thrown around so loosely because, that's just kind of an industry buzzword, retirement planning, retirement planners, everyone's planning to plan. But really, where the rubber meets the road, I think, is where their lives actually change. And it's the actual saving, the implementation of the plan, which is driven by savings. Because look, a plan is fantastic, but if it's a shell and there's no money in it, really, what's the point of having it? I mean, you did a lot of preparation for what? You actually got to stick something in there and you got to make it work, right?
Yeah, when people think about money, they often think, I don't make enough, I don't have enough, there's not enough at the end of the month, or,
right,
whatever. But really, it's not a factor of how much you make, it's a factor of how much you spend.
That's right.
Because if you're spending under, then you're progressing. If you're spending over, it doesn't matter if you make $1 million a year. If you spend $10,000 a year, you're in debt.
That's right. And you've probably heard us talk about a story in the past of 2 different clients. One who made probably $20,000 a month and spent $20,010 a month, and somebody else that made about $35,000 or $40,000 had somewhere to the tune of, I think, 9 rental properties paid off. Just worked with his hands and didn't go to college, but knew how to live. And I love what you said, Richard, and maybe I'm going to say it a different way, but I think the concept holds true, is living below our means. If you make $1,000 and you spend all $1,000, you're no better off than if you made $10,000 and spent all $10,000. Why is Richard Lewis Grant here? Well, for a number of reasons. I want to talk about and give you a quick plug here on your book, and we're going to reference it a few times because Power Tools to Slay the Money Dragon is a fantastic book. I have to, full disclosure, I have not read it cover to cover, but the parts that I have read are so compelling because they're simple, bite-sized pieces, but there's something that I think people overlook all the time. And part of it, I want to kind of parlay into what we're going to talk about today is some of the overlooked retirement tips that are out there. We throw a lot of buzzwords around, like we were saying. So many things get taken for granted. But Richard, tell me a couple of key points about your book and why you think it's important people should take some time to sit down and spend a couple hours reading something like your book.
Sure, Jeff. Actually, there are a lot of money books out there, right?
Right.
There's a lot of things about how to do a budget or whatever. But mine is it's different. I try to help people think differently about money, beginning even with the question, what is money?
Yes.
And how do we as people relate to money, and what can we do? If we change our thinking, we will change our behavior. And that's
Sure.
my goal with the book. There are very simple, as you said, simple but not simplistic principles there that then you can the reader can apply it to their own life, however, whatever stage of life they're in.
Sure. Well, I think the simple part of it makes it, some people can confuse the word simple with easy. I don't think very many things are easy until you become proficient at something, and then once it's your second nature, then people go, oh, it's so easy, whether it's public speaking or, writing a book, or, you can put a whole plethora of things out there where the experts or the pros just say, oh yeah, it's something that I do almost in my spare time, in my sleep. But really, when it comes to finance, everybody touches money, and there are a few people that are truly experts. There are some people that go on TV and radio and they talk and tell you what to buy and sell and how to do this, and you need to come to our next seminar. And you know what? Look, those are all wonderful tools, but at the end of the day, I don't see very many people, driving around in luxury cars. It's mostly middle-class people trying to figure things out. Not everybody has a house on the hill. In fact, I don't think we have enough hills with houses or with room to put a house in, for everybody out there. But But really, at the end of the day, it's about managing what you have, coming in to wherever you are in the picture. You don't have to make millions of dollars to feel wealthy. Having more money left at the end of the month and doing something positive with it, like saving for your future, putting your money to work, giving it a job and letting it do its job, and not saying, oh, I'm going to put it in my retirement account and then yank it out in the form of a loan next month to pay for my kids. Like, what? Really?
Jeff, right now, all over America, there are people going through major changes because of school. School is starting.
Yes.
We have, of course, elementary, middle school, high school, et cetera. But there are people, families, right now, that their kids are leaving. They're going off maybe for the first time.
Sure.
They're going to campus. They're all excited, maybe a little scared, but they won't admit it.
Yeah.
Moms and dads are a little weepy, but then also they're thinking empty nest.
Yeah. Hey, my hand's raised. I'm sure my wife's is too. Sending our 5-year-old off to school, I couldn't imagine sending my young adult out.
But those young adults will be making decisions, financial decisions, that can impact them for the rest of their life. Student debt, et cetera. And they need a plan. They need a structure, for college, for young married, as they go on in life, and up through retirement.
Richard, tell me the age range of people you think might benefit the most from reading a book like Power Tools to Slay the Money Dragon.
9 months of age to 105.
Oh.
After 105, they don't have to read it.
Okay, they figured something out right. Go to greatbooksforme.com. That's greatbooks, the number 4, me.com, and check it out. You can find a number of places, but I think that's the best place to go. Certainly the quickest place to find Power Tools to Slay the Money Dragon. Richard Lewis Grant helping us out today. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. We're going to take a quick break and really come back with some retirement tips that are often overlooked and some things that I think you should get a pen and paper for. If not, if you're driving, I get it. You're at work, no problem. You can always catch us on hometownstation.com. We have an app also for your smartphone, Android, iPhone. You can go get the KHTS app, and you can get news and things like that, but mostly podcasts and hear shows like ours. Total Financial Safer Money Hour, your place for news, talk, and information. This is AM 1220 KHTS. And we're back on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour every week at this time. Thanks for joining us. I also want to thank Richard Lewis Grant. I'm Jeff Gerard, by the way. Richard Lewis Grant is my co-host today, my guest. Thanks for being here again, Richard.
I love being here.
Great, thank you. Let's get into some of these tips. I think for the folks that are either going to retire in the next couple of years, that are planning to retire this year, maybe even next year. I mean, retirement can be right around the corner for so many people, and they don't realize it. I want to touch on something real quick because there are so many times I've seen over the last near decade that someone continues to work beyond the time that they have to by virtue of how much money they've saved. Retiring can be, it's a decision. I think people should work toward it, but plan through it, not just to it. And I think that's some of the things that people leave on the table is planning to get to a destination as though their life stops. It changes. It might augment, a couple things diminish, but when it comes to retirement, getting there is like the battle, getting to retirement. But then, do we quit? What do we do at that point?
Once you're retired?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like if you are going on a road trip, right? And you have a map, and your map says on such and such a time, a day, we're going to be at this place. Well, once you're there, you do something. You don't just stand around the parking lot.
That's right.
You go and you look at Mount Rushmore or whatever it is. I think the hope is you will be healthy enough and have enough assets so that you can, quote unquote, do whatever you want. But even that needs to be planned through. What is it? Are you going to piddle around the garden all day? Are you going to do tasks? Are you going to be useful to the community? Going to volunteer at your church? Whatever. There are those things that are not income. They're avocational rather than vocational.
Sure.
But I think that's a good thing to think about. What am I going to do? If I didn't have to work, what would I do? And a lot of times, I guess, people think, well, toys. I'm going to have a boat. And I'm going to have this and I'm going to have that. But after a while, I think that's pretty empty.
Sure. And thinking about that, accounting of your time, think about being at work all of the time, especially, kind of the red zone, as we've called it in the past, the 5 years leading up to retirement, and then about 3 to 5. 5 is probably the most after you actually pull the trigger and retire, where you'll have some of the most critical, I think, feedback on your movement. And what I mean by that is you have probably the highest earning potential just before you retire. Someone is probably at the end of their career, whether they plan to consult or work part-time or do something in retirement. A lot of people take some time off, but those years just leading up to retirement before they say, hey, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, guys. Send me my pension check, or hey, I don't have one of those, so I'm just going to go spend my own money. But whatever the case is, people tend to put more in their retirement accounts in the last few years leading up to their retirement. Plus, if they haven't planned properly, what do they do the day they don't have to show up to work? What do most people do on a Saturday or Sunday? Is they go out and they hang out and they spend money, right?
Right.
You're not working now. You have to account for that.
And sometimes it's all of a sudden on their radar.
Yes.
Sometimes it's, everyone's working hard, they're sweating, they're just trying to make it through the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they realize, gee, I could retire in 5 years. Or I'm going to start, I'm eligible for Social Security or Medicare or whatever. The trigger is that all of a sudden gets them realizing this has not been on my radar. And maybe they don't have a lot of things in their life outside of work, and they realize I need something.
Sure.
Outside. I actually worked with a guy for years, and he won the lotto. He hit it big, yeah, honest, which blew the average for me, because I figured I don't really play the lotto, but. But
what are the chances of you winning when your friend just won,
when
right?
You're sitting, your offices are next to each other, it's not going to happen. Right? And he won a lot, and it was really funny because the word got around the office very quickly.
I bet.
And he came in Monday morning and he said, this is not going to change my life. I love working.
Sure.
I'm going to come in, blah, blah, blah. Well, Wednesday, he came in around noon. Sorry, I'm late, Friday, no show,
Yeah.
And it just took a little bit of time for it to sink in. But I think part of that was thinking, well, what am I going to do then? And he came up with it very quickly.
Well, and I think when you have that stupid amount of money, as I've probably called it in the past, where it almost doesn't matter what you do, you can't mess it up. And now look, the average inheritance, I hope you're paying attention here for a minute. The average inheritance is spent in about 8 months from whatever lump sum somebody takes in that they did not earn. I'm saying the word inherit. That means it was gifted to you. It's spent in about 8 months. Statistically, that person will have drained it to zero. If you stay tuned to our next hour, we're going to talk about gifting money, and it's a nice thing. It's a noble gesture. It's wonderful to give a gift, but it can also be harmful. So stay tuned for that. We're going to cover some of that and some of those tips there. But when you're talking about, that accounting for your time, having enough money, if that person won the lottery, which they did in this case, I don't know how you could really mess that up. I mean, if they set it up the right way.
But you can't. I don't know if you read about it, but I think it was last week I read a woman had won the Powerball or whatever, and she got millions and millions and millions. And then it recently, like last week, came out that she had spent $9 million on bail for a family member, several times skipping out of bail and bailing them out again. $9 million.
Well, thank you, Richard. Yeah, that just bursted my bubble. I thought, wow, that person's never going to run out of money.
And you can, spend it unwisely.
That's kind of crazy. Well, and there are ways to set those. If you do win the lottery, look.
Come into Total Financial Solution. Talk to Jeff. He'll help you out.
That's right, because it's one thing to have a big lump sum of money that you think is just never going to spend down to nothing. Ask anybody that's ever taken a lump sum of their pension, if they've ever cashed out a 401k and they feel like they've hit the lotto, essentially. You can either manage that yourself and try to play the buffer for yourself who wants to spend money and feels like that money's never going anywhere, or you can say, you know what? Send me, what's the most I can get per month for the rest of my life? When they say, maybe that's $10,000 a month. Okay, so you're telling me that I can mess up $10,000 worth this month, and next month I get to start all over again? Or you spend that $1 million once or $2 million once, and then what? You only get to mess it up one time, right?
Well, one would think it takes a little bit of effort to spend $1 million a month, but Maybe
Kind of
not.
crazy, yeah. Well, especially with family members maybe getting in trouble. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, come back with some more tips, some overlooked retirement tips that I think can be helpful, whether you're going to retire this year, next year, or the next 5 or 10 years, or in 3 decades or more. We have some of those for you. Total Financial Safer Money Hour. Jeff Gerard, Richard Lewis Grant on your hometown station. This is AM 1220, KHTS.